Watch this.
Election day is creeping up, and we know you're sick of hearing about it, but we're here to help you be informed at the polls. And on today's docket, a tourist tax.
Definitely there is a passion to help women, and that's what we have in common.
Finding common ground is the whole point when it comes to civil conversations around divisive topics, like the one we heard about abortion rights in Idaho. Some people add decorative items to their lawn for attention. Others, like one Boise woman, do it for donations. She tells us how her skeletons help to do more than just scare the kids. There are nearly 24 cities across the Gem State that have a local option sales tax, an additional charge for goods and services sold on top of the 6% the state already charges. These cities, by definition, resort cities that make a major portion of the revenue from recreational businesses, well, they do this to keep up with paying for public services the locals either can't afford or are unwilling to pay. Simply an extra tax for tourists who may use those services but aren't asked to pay for them. One Idaho city is considering adding its name to that list of local option hamlets. And if a big resort town comes to mind, well, you might be mistaken because those towns are likely already on that list. Joe Paris joins us now. And Joe, Challis, Idaho is this one spot that is going to consider putting this local option tax on their docket.
It's interesting with growth. We see some movement in Nampa. We see movement in a city like Challis, Idaho. So it's interesting that they do work differently from area to area. So specifically in Custer County, the ballot question is asking voters, specifically in the city of Challis, whether they want to approve a new 4% tax on short-term lodging within the city. So in simple terms, a 4% tax would be added to the bill when someone stays at a hotel, motel, if they have a Holiday Inn, campground, RV park, or any other short-term rental in Challis. Any other short-term rental. You can think Airbnb. So here's what the question could look like and will look like on the ballot in Challis. It just won't say sample on Election Day. So short-term means it stays of 30 days or less. So vacationers, they're the target audience here. And the tax would last for 10 years, from January 2025 through December 2034. The money collected would be used for specific city improvements and services that tourists use, like maintaining streets and sidewalks, snow removal, parks and pathways, emergency services, that's a big one. That also kicks some money in for law enforcement, tourism promotion, and special events that tourists go travel to. So think of this, yes, as a tourist tax. The visitors staying overnight in Challis would pay a little extra on their bill, and that money would go towards improving the city and the services that tourists use. So voters are being asked to vote in favor if they want the new tax, against if they don't want this. And for a full breakdown on everything you'll find on your ballot in Idaho, you can check out the KTVB voter guide. Text the word VOTE to 208-321-5614. We will send you a link to your phone that'll take you to our voter guide. There you can see a list of candidates and questions, so you'll be prepared to go to the polls on Tuesday. We also have this available for you in Spanish. You can text the word VOTO to the same number. That's 208-321-5614. Early voting ends on Friday. Get your ballots in. Brian, I'll be honest, the advice at this point, if you have not put in your absentee ballot, don't put it in the mail.
No.
Take it by hand to the county clerk.
And if I'm correct on this, that option that cities were given to have this local option tax, it's 1978, but it has to be a 60% vote. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you need to have this majority. You can't just have,
not 50 plus one.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Joe. We keep talking about what's on your ballot, which might fall on deaf ears for those of you that have already voted. And that seems to be a lot of you. So many of you. The Idaho Secretary of State told us today early voting and absentee ballots returned have already surpassed the number of ballots cast for the entire May primary. That number is upwards of 293,000 ballots across all of Idaho. 63% of those early voting and absentee ballots are registered Republican, 21% unaffiliated, 16% are Democratic. You can still vote early through this Friday or wait until Tuesday at your local polling place. And if you use an absentee ballot, as Joe said, those must be returned by 8 o'clock on Election Day, November 5th. Probably not a good idea to drop in the mailbox. Just take it to your local election place. So those are the options available to you leading up to and on Election Day. What's not or should not be available to voters on Election Day? A free gift for voting a certain way on a specific topic. You may have seen some things popping up on social media promising, I don't know, like free drinks or what have you if you vote a certain way. Well, you and those offerings should know that is illegal. Back in 1948, the Federal Election Commission made it illegal under federal law to influence voting by offering, accepting, or receiving anything that might change or cause you to not vote. This means any reward of any kind when there is a federal candidate on the ballot, like this year, presidential candidates. And if you do, well, then you will be fined or you could go to jail for a year. If you did it on purpose, when you go to jail for maybe 2 years or both. Some companies have gotten away with this, though, by calling them limited time offers. We're thinking discounted rides to the polls with Lime, Uber, Lyft, maybe offering somebody, and everyone, I should say, offering everyone, like the I voted stickers once you've done your civic duty, that I think is okay. Either way, well, obviously it's okay. Either way, we hope you enjoy your right to vote, whichever way you choose to cast it. Well, today we are continuing our conversation on civil discourse. It began last May when we took you inside a meeting hosted by a local chapter of a national nonprofit called Braver Angels. And their goal through their Red Blue workshops is to bring together both sides of the political aisle to see if, or to show them how, to find common ground. Something that seems to have turned into quicksand on social media lately. We wanted to see what happens when the group setting discussion is pared down to a one-on-one conversation. And 2 weeks ago, we listened in on a back and forth about immigration. This time, the hot button issue of abortion and reproductive health care rights as examined by two women. One, a self-proclaimed moderate, the other, a conservative.
My name is Emily.
My name is Janice.
And I lean to the right politically.
I tend to lean fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
How long have you lived in Idaho?
I've lived in Idaho my whole adult life.
I've lived in Idaho for 16 years.
You are going to be discussing abortion today.
Yes.
I think about it more as reproductive health.
I consider myself passionately pro-life.
It is up to the individual person to decide what is in their best interests.
I definitely believe in the sanctity of all life.
Consulting with their family and whoever else is in their circle of trust.
And believe it's important to stand up for the voiceless.
And why do you think your side's values and policies are good for the country?
I'm not sure there is a right one policy. I think there are layers of decisions that come into play when we're talking about reproductive rights and reproductive health. And I think about health care, and I think about access to health care. I think about access to resources. I think about the care of a life after it's been brought into the world. Who takes care of it? If there's someone who can't, you know, where it puts a family or a mother or the child in life. A lot of things go into that. And the risks of delivering a baby. I mean, it's risky. And I think we overlook that in a lot of the things that when we're looking at something as big as reproductive rights and reproductive health and abortion. Access to abortion is critical to life. So I see both sides of it. And I see families who have to bring a baby to term and they know it's only going to live a couple of hours. That's a hard decision to make.
The pro-life position, you know, it is one of the beauty of life, and it is complicated. You know, when there is a crisis pregnancy, I think we all agree that we need to work to get rid of the crisis and not the pregnancy. Compassion calls us to walk with people, to enter into the suffering. So when there's these difficult situations, then we want to get rid of the suffering. And so instead of getting rid of the suffering by getting rid of a human being and ending a life, intentionally ending a life, which then has lots of negative impacts at times, emotionally for the woman, even physically, abortions are not that safe. I know a lot of people don't think the government should tell women what to do, but the government is there to protect vulnerable people, and the unborn is that vulnerable population.
So let's open that up then to what you heard, what you learned, and perhaps if there's anything you saw in common.
Well, I think definitely there is a passion to help women, and that's what we have in common. Help women, help families, but how we go about that, is it a government policy or is it a personal policy, or, you know, how do you go about that? That is the most difficult aspect of, you know, force people to have children they don't want, but when a child exists, they have a right to life.
Again, going back to taking care of people, and taking care of community is a really important thing to focus on. Having community support is important, but there's a lot of stigma in the community about seeking that support. You know, what are the requirements? You know, is it without judgment, or are there, you know, commitments and aspects of the support that have to be there? And then I think we have to acknowledge that in a lot of our communities, there are not supports to help. And then I think the government policies related to healthcare then and the impacts that it has on some of the other things in our communities are really important to consider when we talk about policy. You know, we are losing doctors in our community. In Idaho and in the Treasure Valley, we do not have enough providers to take care of even some of the basic needs. So then when we add policies that penalize healthcare providers, people who, like you, are trying to help and do good things every day, but now we have laws in place that force them to leave our communities and go somewhere else, that's a challenge.
I think she's right. There's a lot of stigma surrounding, of course, an unplanned pregnancy, but there's also a lot of stigma around like placing a baby for adoption. So it's very sad that people, women, couples would rather choose abortion than adoption because there's such a stigma around adoption. And I think adoption is very expensive. And there's so many couples, I mean, 1 in 8 couples that struggle with infertility. And I think there are, you know, ways that we can help each other if we can help promote adoption, make adoption easier, and just make it attractive to women who are in unplanned pregnancies, because everything they see makes it sound like it's going to be terrible. And so even using the word to give up a baby, I mean, we should get away from that. I mean, you're placing a baby for adoption, and that's one of life's greatest gifts. It's definitely a divisive issue. We both have this passion, you know, passion for the unborn, passion for women, passion for, you know, seeing our country thrive. And we don't want to see these passions be an angry conflict that's going to actually tear us apart instead of bring us together.
I think that that's well said. I think what we can do and the common ground that we can find is creating an environment where we can talk about the issues in a very friendly and inviting and engaging way, and help people find solutions that fit them.
In less than a week, abortion rights initiatives will be decided in 10 states. Idaho is not one of them, at least not yet. There has been a petition filed with Idaho's Secretary of State to start the process of getting one on the ballot for 2026 to restore abortion rights in the Gem State. Those went away in August of 2022 after the Dobbs decision by the U.S. Supreme Court returned that decision-making power to the states, triggering Idaho's near-total abortion ban. Braver Angels are always looking for volunteers to participate in one of their group session discussions. If you are interested, we will have a link to their website in this story and in the stories we've done already on our website at ktvb.com. Harrison Boulevard in Boise's North End isn't the only street where you'll find Halloween fans who go all out for the haunted holiday. In fact, there's one house in a West Boise neighborhood that does pretty well and has done that for years. But the owner, Michelle Bain, doesn't just dress up her address for the fun of it. As Aspen Shumpert learned, why Michelle decorates like she does means a little more the last 2 years.
You could say one house on North Esquire Drive in Boise sticks out. Michelle Bain is known for having a spooky house each year.
I have so much fun making things that people enjoy.
And each year, there's something different.
I make everything modular when I build it all, because I build everything and I also sew everything. I actually start a year in advance, so that way I can start looking for fabric, looking for discount costumes, looking for discounted wood, things I can repurpose, like how my little chariot over here was a discarded chair.
This year, Michelle's yard is transformed into ancient Rome.
Today we are in the middle of All Roads Lead to Rome, which is my big Halloween scene for this year.
In the back, you'll find Julius Caesar and Cleopatra with an audience.
I was able to get my hands on this really great foam for free, so I turned that into a Coliseum. And that's kind of where it all started is, oh, wow, one little piece. And then I turn it into something that expands and expands.
And 30 different skeletons on display. But for the last 2 years, she's been doing it for a cause.
Somebody mentioned that they were doing skeletons for St. Jude. I was just super intrigued.
A national fundraiser that raises awareness with Halloween displays.
I believe in that organization.
And the decorations help become a conversation starter.
Everybody stops and looks and reads the sign, and this year I did like a little takeaway brochure so that way people can donate later.
She hopes more homeowners who decorate in Boise will join the fundraiser in the future.
They're doing it all across the United States, and so it's something where lots of houses are participating. It's just, we're kind of short in this area over in our neck of the woods, and so that's where I really want to get word out because it's just a great opportunity for people that decorate.
Michelle says last year she raised $1,500 for St. Jude. This year, she's on track to do about the same. We will have more information on where to find Michelle's house if you want to stop by and where you can donate on our website, ktvb.com. Brian, I also want to mention that St. Jude is actually going to be doing this for Christmas decorations in the winter this year, which is going to be the first year. Michelle says she's participating. She wouldn't give me any hints, but another house to look out for later this winter.
And a different season of decoration. So I asked this of you, Aspen, because I want to know, I see these displays around town, and I have this issue. Where do you store all that stuff when it's not Halloween or Christmas?
And Michelle and I talked about this. She actually has a designated spot in her backyard behind bushes that she can really hide all of these decorations, and they apparently come down very easy and can be put in boxes and hidden for the most part.
But outside, not like in a shed, in a storage facility? Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And she changes it every year?
She changes it every year. Last year was Western themed, so people might have recognized her yard from things she's done in the past years, but can't give any hints on what's next.
All right. Pretty creative and a good cause. Thank you very much, Aspen. All right, just heading out around your own neighborhood like Aspen just did. Maybe she's getting a head start on trick-or-treating. I don't know. The only option trick-or-treaters have for Halloween isn't just in your own neighborhood. If you're heading to Harrison Boulevard, you and thousands of others might need to know what to expect. Hunter Funk tells us when you can find your treats, as well as some tricks for getting around traffic this Thursday in the City of Trees on today's 411.
Remember the fire at the Union Block building back on the 12th? Well, we're pretty sure we know who did it. Boise police say charges are coming for 3 juvenile suspects who think they started the fire in the condemned building. Police are saying the 3 will probably be charged with arson and burglary. Firefighters put out more than a dozen small fires on the first floor of the closed building, but thankfully there wasn't any damage to the already unstable building.
They had to be totally restored. They were faded down, some of them to bare metal.
And now you can see them all lit up. Head to West Grove Street in Boise between 12th and 13th Street at 6:15 to see the historic Boise Neon Sign Gallery shine brightly at their lighting ceremony. You can be part of Boise's first open-air gallery. Tomorrow night, the streets will be crawling with ghosts, ghouls, and goblins. Well, especially on Harrison Boulevard in Boise's North End. The Ada County Highway District says you can grab some candy on Harrison between 4 and 10. So drivers watch out because Harrison Boulevard will be closed between Hill Road and Hayes Street from around 2 o'clock to midnight. Happy Halloween. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Hunter Funk.
So we've been cool across the area and windy in valley locations, but tomorrow kicks off a very wet and even wintry pattern. So hopefully you soaked in the sunshine today because we will see a lot more cloud cover over the next about 4 days or so. So this pattern starts tomorrow, and so unfortunately it may interrupt some of your Halloween plans or trick-or-treating plans. In valleys, we're not talking about a lot of moisture. This should be quite light, and in the mountain areas, we're talking about 1 to 3 inches of snow through tomorrow and additional rounds of snow expected on top of that. So when we break down the timing, you'll see I'm going to refer to these showers as kind of bookend showers because they start off being a little bit more widespread. Then we get a break in the middle with the more isolated showers in the afternoon for tomorrow, and then those showers return in the evening, but they favor some of the western zones. And then Friday, it's a similar view where we continue to see those in the morning, break in the afternoon, and then they continue throughout the evening. So tomorrow is a first alert weather day because of these conditions. Again, valley spots, we shouldn't see those totals get more than about 1/10 of an inch, but that may be just enough to mess up the spooky do, your spooky hairdo that you have planned or the special makeup. And on Friday, again, we'll see those showers continue. The winds will pick up a little bit more. Those temperatures go up just a little bit. We cool down on Saturday with, you guessed it, the rain continuing, and more of the cool temperatures are on the way as well. And you can see those showers linger into Sunday as well.
All right, let's get right to your comments here on this Wednesday afternoon. This one from Janice talking about the local option sales tax that is in about 24 cities across the state of Idaho. They already have that tax in McCall, Idaho. Won't be stopping to buy groceries there again, she says. Yeah, but that's the thing. If you're just visiting, you don't pay for the use of the roads, some of the services you do use there. Not in favor of a hotel tax or camping tax. True Idahoan in California could afford it, says TJ in Emmett. I think the real underlying issue with abortion is that people have abused it to create a form of birth control. Let's be real, says Sandy Mateo. Meanwhile, on the other side, I was raised by a mother who daily reminded me she did not want me. Still stings at 76 years of age. I would never put someone else through that. Let people make their own decisions. Only they know all their facts, says Jill in Boise. Well, when I was a kid, says Mary in Boise, and still is, Warm Springs was the place to trick or treat, not Harrison Boulevard. And Warm Springs is a pretty good spot to trick or treat, that's for sure. But do they close Warm Springs like they do Harrison Boulevard with tens of thousands? Tens of thousands? Yeah, it's up there. Thousands of people showing up, and they just shut it down for about a mile stretch, which is pretty impressive. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Aspen, wait for me.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.